our goal is to promote the rights of low-income immigrants and their family members. What I've been doing for the last couple of years has been fighting what we call anti-immigrant or racial profiling state laws in the U.S. court system. Most notoriously, Arizona's SB 1070, which the Supreme Court recently ruled that most of it could not take effect because it was unconstitutional. The question, very much before the nation's high court, centered on whether Arizona as a state, as one of 50 U.S. states, had the authority, had the constitutional ability to make law in the area of immigration regulation. And the Supreme Court said, in considering 4 separate provisions of the law, no, this is federal domain. We have to have one federal policy over immigration matters because it impacts our foreign policy. They did allow one piece to go into effect, saying that it wouldn't cause the same constitutional concerns. The piece of the law that has been green-lighted for now is what's called the Show Me Your Papers provision, right? So this is a provision that allows any police officer in the state of Arizona, anytime they encounter someone for an otherwise lawful stop. So this can really be anything. They're investigating a noise ordinance, like you're playing your music too loud at your party, or you've been pulled over for speeding or something like that. If they have, quote, reasonable suspicion that someone is undocumented, they then have the authority to stop that individual, question them about their immigration status, even though there's no separate criminal reason to detain that person. And that's where you get the racial undertones, and here's why. Law enforcement officers are used to the concept of reasonable suspicion of an activity. Reasonable suspicion of murder, reasonable suspicion of bank robbery, reasonable suspicion of violent crime. They are not used to applying the concept of reasonable suspicion to a person's status. So what is it that makes somebody reasonably suspicious that they're undocumented? And law enforcement officers across the country say this will boil down to race. The only way that my law enforcement officers will implement this is they will look at someone, and if they are brown or if they speak English with an accent, they will be the ones who are deemed suspect. It's absolutely a civil liberties issue. So one, it's, am I treated differently because of the color of my skin, because of the language that I choose to speak? So that's first. And yes, of course, we've heard from Latinos all across the state, those who are U.S. citizens or documented as well as undocumented, that it produces questions. Can I go out to that festival today? Should I drop my kids off at school? Or should I literally curtail my daily activities out of fear that simply walking about and doing my daily business will make me the target of police interrogation and detention? Arizona has, very much been ground zero in this fight, and 5 other U.S. states followed suit. I think that when you look at the history of kind of state legislation in Arizona over the last several years, you will see an increasing attempt by the state legislatures to target Spanish-speaking immigrants, particularly in the state. They've passed English-only initiatives that were ultimately rejected as being unconstitutional, and a numerous trail of increasingly aggressive anti-immigrant state measures. So, those who are sponsoring it sometimes say what they're trying to do is control the border and the federal government isn't doing their job, but I think that's an overly sanitized view of the situation. What's going on is a deep-seated discomfort with the demographic shift in the state. And so when you actually look at what the legislators themselves say in public, what they write, is that they want to return Arizona to its greatness, which means to its white majority, and that they want to eliminate or reduce the Spanish speaking that is going on in the state. And so those goals are present, and those are goals that are very much tainted with racial undertones.